So we have everybody here. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar. Again, please let us know if you have any audio or video issues. We want to make sure that you get the most out of this webinar and your time today. My name is Monal Patel, and I'm the SVP and Chief Business Officer for Unbox. And what is Unbox? We are innovators in e-commerce product discovery space and have built disruptive products for site search, category navigation, and personalized recommendation. However, today we're focusing on site search and sharing our best practices that show better customer engagement, which in turn results in higher conversions. Some of these best practices and do's and don'ts are based on our observations, so please evaluate it in the context of your business. And again, thank you for joining us. A quick note for the webinar, all attendees are muted just so that we don't hear your neighbors and your cube mates. But you can ask questions at any time. You can see on your webinar window this type of question window. So please go ahead and ask questions at any time. We'll try to answer those questions when we see them, or otherwise we'll try to cover all of them at the end. And there will be a Q&A at the end where you can ask all the questions. The total time we estimate for the entire webinar will be about 30 minutes. We'll try to get done a little bit sooner, but if not, we'll at least take about 30 minutes to complete. All right, here's the agenda of what we're going to share today. We'll talk a little bit about us, pat ourselves in the back. Why site search? We'll talk a little bit about that. And then walk you through some specific usability guidelines in 4 different areas of site search, which includes predictive searching, search refinements, results layout, and specifically mobile, because everybody wants to talk about mobile these days. And some key takeaways at the end to summarize our entire webinar today. All right. A little bit about us. We believe we will be the future site search leaders because Unbox has solved some e-commerce problems that have not been solved in the past before. Unbox started its journey 3 years ago in site search and built not just a system, but an awesome search solution. What's so awesome about it? It is highly customized for each retailer, even if you're a small specialty site. It is extremely easy to use and deploys just within weeks. We entered the US market last year in June and have already signed up about 200 plus e-tail customers and are geared towards adding another 400 just this year. And we're only in the 3rd month of the year. This makes us the future site search leaders. Our customers span across different industries like apparel, mass merchants, hardline, and grocery. And while no 2 solutions for us are the same, we are still very, very affordable. And we have built a solution that actually scales tremendously for large volumes. All right, so let's get into the webinar and why do we want to talk about site search and design as part of the site search experience. So let's first make a quick business case for it. Site search is important. It's not a debate anymore. On an average, 43% of your visitors use site search. While this number varies by industry, regardless of which industry you're from, it is a significant number. Site search customers are 3 times more likely to buy. That's what we've seen in our observation, and that's what we've also seen from an industry average also. Next, to understand the importance of design in site search, let's take a little bit deeper dive as to why customers search. In our observations, there are 2 types of customers. Type 1, which we will call them as primary, they know exactly what they want and go straight for search. They like speed and convenience, and so search is their preferred way to discover products. Type 2, they first try to use navigation, and when that fails, they use search as a last resort. Both these customers expect search to produce relevant results. So relevancy is definitely important. However, type 1 are more forgiving, as in the primary customers, are more forgiving and will make 3 to 5 attempts before giving up. Type 2, which is the alternatives, are less forgiving to inaccurate search results because this will be the second failure after navigation also failed at finding right products. So we fix relevancy, right? So relevancy is very important. But what we have observed is that fixing relevancy isn't enough. And why is that? Because not all search queries are the same. Unbox has classified about 10 to 12 different search queries, and what we have seen is that relevancy alone cannot address all of them. This is where the design comes in. So let's take a couple of examples to just demonstrate as to why. Here's one example, say brown leather jacket. A relevant site search engine is needed to solve this type of long tail queries because it's important to understand that jacket is the product, leather is the fabric, and brown is the color. Symptom searches like these, when you say diabetic products, require a context-aware search engine, a very different algorithm to try to solve these types of queries, but still requires a very good technology to solve this query in terms of an algorithm. But head queries like these, say I'm looking for something that is made out of teak, the intent is not very clear. So even the relevancy engine requires enough signals to try to figure out what the customer might be trying to look for. This is where a visually guided design, better designed solution actually comes into play. So what we have observed is a great search technology is not enough, and even after you have a great search technology, the experience can still be mediocre. And this is where design really comes into play. So if you want to get to 85% of the way, technology will help you. But if you want to get to 95, 98% of the way, experience is very, very important. And design has a lot to do with how the customer experiences search, and it goes beyond the technology and the intelligence. So let's show you how different designs positively and negatively impact customer engagement. And we'll start with the first element that customers come into contact when they want to start using search. And this is where the type ahead or the autocomplete comes into play. Predictive search is very important for autocomplete. As a foundation, you need the right technology to do predictive search before applying the guidelines we'll show you. Our observation is that predictive search should be customized to your business, and we'll show you guidelines for different businesses and how different designs actually help and how you want to incorporate those business elements into the experience. Let's start with the first one where we call it the guided autocomplete. So you take Walgreens as an example. You walk into a Walgreens store and you want to buy a toothpaste. You don't look for toothpaste first. You actually look for the dental aisle first, and then you buy your toothpaste. That is exactly what the autocomplete needs to reflect in the experience. When I'm starting to type in the letters to search something, we want to make sure that the in-store experience is reflected online by guiding the customers to a category first and not necessarily to the products. However, the design element here to keep in mind is highlight scope suggestions and make sure that they are different than search suggestions. Okay, here's a prestige brand out of New York. For Deborah Lipman, customers are actually looking for specific products because they are a brand. So show products in the autocomplete along with the search suggestions. Now, make sure that you don't end up showing irrelevant products. They still have to be relevant to the query that the customer is typing in. And obviously be careful about not showing out of stock products. The next thing you also want to be careful and would be really engaging is that if you order the products in the probability of conversion, the higher the probability of conversion, the higher the ranking of the product should be. And what we have seen is that when we design this autocomplete this way, customers are 2 times more likely to click on these results than just standard suggestions. Here's an extremely powerful example for grocery vertical. Before implementing this design, it used to take customers 60 clicks, 60 clicks to buy 10 to 12 products. After we designed the autocomplete in this way, it now takes about 15. This design reflects your grocery store experience and it takes it to the next level in convenience. So we buy the same cheese every week or every other week. So make sure that I can see the cheese that I buy all the time. So it's personalized to each user's past behavior. We show very specific elements like quantity, price, and weight, which are the most important elements when people are choosing grocery products. And they can add to cart right from here in one click. Now let's say they were looking for some product beyond what they normally buy. So they're looking for something different to buy this time. On the right hand side, we want to also show some commonly searched terms to help them guide through that and provide some query suggestions that also match to what they're about to enter. Popular brands and categories that again match predictively based on the keywords that the customer has already entered. Okay. Now that the customer has actually searched through the autocomplete, the next step in the customer journey is refinement. You've got a bunch of search results. I want to now filter those results down to a very particular subset before I evaluate them. Say, for example, the customer actually entered a very high-level query called, say, mobile. The results can span across categories. Here, the intent is not very clear. So help your customers by guiding them to narrow down to a category or a subcategory. Otherwise, your customers will be lost in the plethora of other filters. You need first a good technology to identify which subcategories to show and also which order these subcategories should be in. So make sure the design element here is to draw the attention of the customers to the categories or the subcategories first, and then obviously make sure that the order of the categories is very important, because you can see here mobile phones are more important than Bluetooth, even though Bluetooth might be alphabetically higher in ranking. Okay. Please don't hesitate to ask questions in the question box if you have any. We obviously love to hear questions from you guys so we can tell that we're following a specific path. Next is making the filters accessible. So now you've defined the scope and you've shown a page full of relevant results. If I scroll below the fold, make sure the filters on the left follows me. Don't make the customer take an extra step just to use our awesomely designed filters. The design element here is either use persistent filters or expand them as shown as in this example. Okay. By the way, Zappos does not do that. Does not make for a good experience. Even though they are a well-known brand, not having the filters persistent does not make it a good search experience. Okay. Now let's say you have a huge number of filter options. Give customers the ability, as you can see here, to quickly narrow it down. Give customers the ability to quickly narrow it down by providing a search option inside the filter. Now, if I was looking for Valentino in this list, can you imagine how tedious would that be? So here's what our design element looks like. Provide a search within the filter itself. Make it very obvious. That's the design guideline. Make it very obvious so that customers know that this option is not available for every single facet. Like, for example, this may not make sense for color. Now let's say, what type of query has the customer entered? Customers expect filter options to be relevant to the search query nowadays. Searching for shoes, size options are relevant to shoe sizes. That's critical. And it is also important to make sure that the order of these facets and filters are in the order of importance. So size for shoes is important, then ankle height, then width, maybe then the casual shoe type, etc. And what is really important, why you need a good technology to make this possible, is that you can't design this for every permutation and combination. You design it once for shoes, regardless of how the query is it men's casual shoes or men's shoes, these types of facets and filters should show up. Now here's an example for shirts. When I search for shirts or casual shirts or men's casual shirts or men's shirts, these filters that are relevant to shirts in the order of importance should automatically show up. Here's a design element. Don't do that. Don't show zero option filters clearly, and also remove redundant filter fields. Here you can see AT&T Wireless is showing up twice and Motorola is showing up twice. Don't do that. Okay, so now you've come through the autocomplete, the customer has searched for something, they've filtered down the results. Now they're actually ready to look at the results and the alternatives. Say she searched for a red dress. Make sure that you show the red image of the dress. She came to see how dresses look in red. Don't make her imagine, or worse, make her do more work to click on every single image and choose red. So the design element here is match the product color to the search query and add the options to explore other colors so customers know that different color variants do exist. However, pre-select the appropriate filter here. Okay. As you can see here, only one red dress is being shown above the fold. Now let's say you have a good search query, brown leather shoes, and all your results are relevant. You are showing brown leather shoes, but you have hundreds of them. This is more of a design element for your internal customer, which is for your merchants. So merchants should have access to good technology that allows them to make sure they show relevant products and the most converting products up at the top that are relevant to that business in that moment. So here's a quick video of what we wanted to show how our merchandising backend dashboard is designed, something that you can design for your own internal customers as well. Let me just quickly run this video. Okay. You can see here I've searched for dresses and I'm merchandising for dresses. I can filter based on price, low and high. I can also promote products. And you want to make sure that the merchandising is quite visual in nature so customers can, your merchants, internal customers can very quickly see what products the customers will see. Within promoting, I can sort by the attributes that are available or I can boost by certain attributes. Here we're going to boost by brand called Adriana. Again, very quickly shows the result. They can evaluate the results very quickly and push that into production. Now let's say you have multiple options and you want to drag and drop the most relevant and the most popular options up at the top because you have a high quantity of those, etc. You can do that as well. And you can also convert to a landing page. I'm going to quickly show you that last bit here. So convert to a landing page in case you have queries that don't match to anything in your catalog, or you're trying to create a very specific marketing campaign. Give your merchants the ability to do exactly the same for custom landing pages also. Don't make them go back to IT all the time. This is how you want to design your internal merchandising tool as well. Okay. Okay, now she's ready to look at the actual result set. How do we, the customer may not know how to describe why they like this particular product, or there may be too many things as to why they like that product. It could be price, it could be color, it could be style, etc. How can a customer quickly search for similar products? What we have here is a design element. We call a small link to say see similar products. First of all, design this feature with care so as to not distract the customers from the actual search results. But when the customer clicks on that link, a modal window opens up, just like this. She can evaluate alternatives. If she does not like this alternatives, she can very quickly go back to the search results without interrupting the search results. Okay. Now let's see an example of bucketed search results. So a customer has actually searched for a query that crosses categories. Here we've searched for Alexander Wang, who also makes totes and also makes shoulder bags. You can design an experience that scrolls horizontally for each of the subcategory that this query matches into. So you can see, I will run this through again. Search for Alexander Wang at the top. The categories it crosses is into totes, shoulder bags, dresses, etc. because Alexander Wang designs all of these things. And you can see how the experience scrolls horizontally where customer can quickly evaluate all the different products that match that query. Then they also have an element where they can quickly select view all to go in and see more of the same products. Here's same design for grocery vertical. I'm searching for bread, milk, and eggs, and how quickly we can help customers evaluate all the different types of breads that you have in your catalog through an horizontal scroll. You can also see that view all element right here in the top corner, where if they wanted to see all milk, they can just click on view all and see all the milk options. Okay. Now, no technology is perfect, so you will see some zero results. We wanted to show this option that is something that was used 4 years ago, very staticky, very non-adaptive. Every customer who goes to a zero results page will see this. Popular searches, popular products. It's not bad, but it's very old style. This is what we believe is the new style of doing things. You show the recently viewed and what you would recommend to that customer based on what that customer has done in that moment, in that session. So here, allow the customer to go back or allow the customer to go forward and give the customer the ability to take the next step without having to figure out what to do next. So you can guide them. And the big element is that this is personalized for every single user because it is tracked for every single user's experience. Okay. Last is mobile. Mobile is search because we know that navigation is cumbersome on mobile, especially if you have a very large catalog. And search is the primary way to discover products. Now, in our observation, in Unbox's observation, we have found two different types of searchers or customers who search. Primary, who know exactly what they want, very high intent, will write a lot of long tail queries and exactly what they are looking for. And explorers will type in a lot of head queries because the intent is not clear enough. In both cases, again, if the relevancy is not good, there's a very high risk of abandonment. So you want to fix the relevancy absolutely as a foundation for technology, but how do you design the mobile search experience? One, don't rehash desktop best practices. That only makes for a bad experience. So here, starting with the autocomplete again, you want to give them scope suggestions. Guide the customer to narrow down the search results, especially again, if you have a large catalog, a guided autocomplete is very, very important. The next piece is recent searches. In our observation, we've seen that mobile experience gets interrupted consistently and too frequently. You get a phone call, you get a text notification, you get some other notification, you're gone from that site. How can the site make it easy for the customer to get back to where they left off very quickly? And recent searches seem to be the best way to go about doing that. Avoid showing product thumbnails because of the limited space. It just takes up enough space and you don't get to guide the customer to where they are really trying to go to. Mobile refinement options. Make sure, how do you encourage customers to refine down the results? One, make it very accessible and keep it in the vicinity of each other. Don't hide options within each other just to save space. So you have filters, you have sorts. Both options should be visible. If you want to narrow it down by department, make it very, very visible. Don't do this. Here, the customer has actually, a site has actually taken sort inside the filter option. So if I was on the left, I would have no idea how to sort the results unless I went in and clicked on filters. And then I would see the sort option right here. Okay, now a customer has searched for a head query. How do you guide the customer to the right set of products? Because it is not a race to show the right set of products, but it is a race to guide the customer to the right set of products. So when they search for a very high level query, make sure that you guide them first to a subcategory and then allow them to filter further. Here's the UI element of how to do multi-select in mobile. Make sure that you also provide an apply button just so that every time a customer actually selects the filter, you don't want to make a query on the back end and slow down the response times. Offer multi-views. So allow the customer to actually see the products in different views. So here you can see in a list view, here you can see in a block view, and here you can see one product at a time view. Again, very simple differentiator here to try to allow them to evaluate alternatives. We saw that in the desktop example. Can go here very quickly. And you can see that here, when we saw that, She doesn't know why she likes these shoes or too many reasons why she likes these shoes, right? So let's just quickly go back to where we were. Okay. Okay. So for mobile, provide this quick button that says more like these, opens up in a modal window again where customer can evaluate alternatives, close the window and go back to the search experience without interrupting the search experience. Okay. Key takeaways. So that's what our webinar was. Here's what the four key takeaways are from our experience. Number one, site search experience is equal to relevancy, that is good technology plus good design. Both are very important. Only then you will be able to solve all the types of queries that are out there. Cornerstone for search user experience is every element that the customer touches, starting with the predictive search in autocomplete. Then the results have to be relevant to what they have searched for and in the sequence of what's popular, and the results layout. Try to make sure all the different elements of search experience are touched. Now, not every guideline that we shared here applies to your site, so test, learn, and repeat. Mobile is equal to search. A poor site search experience on mobile is not an option, especially nowadays where customers will be very important, will evaluate your site, your desktop site on mobile first. New users might experience your site on mobile first and then decide to go to your desktop. So if mobile experience is not good, they might not even bother going to your desktop site. And if you actually have physical stores, I know some of our attendees here have registered, have physical stores, mobile will be the first time they'll come across your store, and then only then they'll decide to go to the physical store to buy products. So make sure that mobile experience is also very good. At the end, what we are trying to really share here is how can you convert a search experience into a shopping experience? That's what it is all about. It's not about independently designing your autocomplete, independently designing your filters, and independently designing your search results. It is a holistic approach to trying to make sure that all of the design elements that you do, based on a good foundation of technology, that you're guiding the customer towards their journey of purchase. Okay. Questions. So I see there are a few questions that people have already asked. Please go ahead and ask any more questions that you have. If you forget to ask a question, if a question comes up later on, you can always send us an email or reach out to any one of us. You have our email addresses, and I'll share mine at the end of the webinar as well. Please go ahead and ask us questions afterwards as well. Okay, the first question is, I have 300 products on my site. Does guided autocomplete with category suggestions make sense then? So it depends on how you've categorized your products. Regardless of whether you have fewer products or a large catalog, if you have curated your product catalog into a lot of categories, it is very important to make sure that the guided aspect is in the autocomplete. Now, when you saw our example for Deborah Lipman, they have a small catalog. What was important for them to guide customers was color and finish. So for Deborah Lipman, color and finish are the true differentiators. So it's important to guide the customers to colors and finish. So yes, it could be important depending on what business you're in what type of catalog you've curated so far. All right. I have a few more questions here. Okay. Is your site search templatized or customized for each retailer? So we have some templated versions if you're not interested in a very custom solution, but we also customize our solution for every single retailer. So we have ability to do both. Do you offer merchandising controls for browse pages as well? So from a design element, we do absolutely, because for example, in the apparel industry, navigation and category navigation specifically is extremely high percentage of customers, and search is relatively a smaller percentage of customers. Now, if you have a large catalog, if you're a mass merchant, search is extremely high and navigation is extremely small. But in both cases, navigation is still important. So from internal perspective, if your merchants do not have access to good merchandising tools, it is important to provide them those same visual designs that you would do it for your customer. And our product does provide that, yes. Will you be sharing this recording? I want to show these features to my team, or is there some place I can test these out? Absolutely. So as a follow-up, we will be sending out a link to the recorded version of this webinar. And if you're specifically interested based on which vertical your site is in, we have different examples for different verticals, and we should be able to share those with you. Absolutely. Next question is, do you have any resources on mobile search? Two things. We are actually going to do a mobile search webinar. So we definitely are going to do that, and please stay on the lookout for that. But we also have resources. And if you reach out to us, we will be more than happy to send those to you. And we'll obviously, the person who's asked this question will definitely send them to you. But anybody else who's interested in that as well, please send us a note, and we'll be more than happy to send them to you as well. Okay, so those are all the questions that I can see. Again, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate. Next, as a follow-up, if you are really intrigued by what you heard here today and what our observations and experience has been, please go to our site to unbox.com/search-grader. Sign up for your site. This is not an automated tool. We actually have engineers on the back end that will evaluate your site. We'll figure out what your site lacks from what our experience is, and how, more importantly, how should you go about solving those types of problems, both from a technology and an experience perspective. So please, I really encourage you to sign up. There's no obligation to buy. So please go ahead and sign up if you haven't already. And thank you again for joining, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share. And we look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you, everyone.